we'll have it eventually. Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here. Today's nonsense is actually for the midweek Magic event called On the Edge. We're going to be doing a little bit of green-white, I don't know, we'll call it modified, but it's actually more like a green-white little kid back here. We can throw counters around with Elspeths and Wandering Emperors and Fight Riggings, and Gala Greeters can do a little bit of getting counters on itself, and Ascendant Packleader can do a little getting counters on itself. The Hopeful Initiate can do a little getting counters on itself. So technically, I think we are a modified deck. We don't really have that many payoffs. It's mainly just, you know, take advantage of Selesnya's ability to get cards, or power and toughness efficiently, and grow our creatures and try and take advantage of, you know, kind of a smaller card pool. We have a lot of really powerful cards in here for a relatively aggressive game plan. Obviously, we're going to start with some pretty good one-drops here with Ascendant Packleader and Hopeful Initiate. They work well together. When we have a Packleader down, you know, the Hopeful Initiate grows. We get to attack relatively aggressively that way. But all on their own, each of them are also quite good in the deck in general, right? So we've got to kind of have our early game come together just a little bit for this deck, but in the mid game we have some of the most powerful cards in the format, right? We are running Wedding Announcement, obviously very useful for going wide and helps us go a little taller as well later on. We have Wandering Emperor. I don't think I need to defend this card. Very, very strong in general. But the Ulvenwald Oddity, if we're doing relatively aggressive things, and hopefully maybe even training, doing some stuff like that, Ulvenwald Oddity just really, really pulls its own weight as a 4/4 trample haste. Being able to get counters from either Fight Riggings or Wandering Emperors, things like that. Very, very strong. And Kodama, just being able to have reach and grant our modified creatures trample means that if these creatures are just casually getting a couple of counters here and there, giving them trample, very, very strong indeed. Of course, getting the lands, also quite nice if that comes up. And similarly, Elspeth Resplendent, just very, very strong. Most of our permanents here, right, or everything, actually, at 3 mana or less, is, in fact, a permanent, right? So the -3, very nice, can, you know, will add something to the board with a shield counter, should we choose to do that. But the fact that it can mainly go up and give 1/1 counters, hopefully for evasion, flying, things like that, just very, very strong in general here. It also ultimates pretty quickly to slam the door on the game. What are some of the really weak parts of the deck? Well, the mana. Oh, man. The mana, the fact that they've limited us way down on sets means we just don't have access to good Selesnya lands at all. Botanical Plaza technically is a dual land. We've got Jetmir's Garden in here as well, just as a green-white land that cycles. We could have had to gain a life land. Just went with some basics instead. Geez. We want to be relatively aggressive, and having all these tap lands is just really detrimental. But on the whole, I think the deck is quite strong, so let's go take it out for some games and hopefully get some wins as well. Alright, folks, here we are up against Wolves. Good luck, Wolves. And yeah, this looks fine. Ascendant Packleader coming on down for our opponent. We have to start a Jetmir's Garden. Again, these lands, just brutal here. Admittedly, you know, the hand is good enough that I think it's okay, but kinda unfortunate though. We do a Wedding Announcement over here and a Wandering Emperor kinda off behind my shoulder there. Ooh, there we go. So look out for that. Opponent adding to the board very quickly here. Fight Rigging, go ahead and be throwing counters around after it hides away, but that is in Zeus's Many Journeys over on our opponent's side of the board. You know, likely might be kind of used to seeing Ranger class and things as the saga of, or the, you know, enchantment of choice to be hanging out over on the side of mono green decks, but of course not legal in this particular event. So opponent crashes in with a 3/2. We of course don't want to chump with our Hopeful Initiate, just take the damage and try and decide how to go about it. Fight Rigging is tempting, but I think we'd rather just start going wide. If we need to, we can use those creatures to chump with. But ideally speaking, they'll grow up and then we won't need to be doing any jumping at all. Hopefully we'll be able to be trading and things like that, with these smaller creatures. Our opponent goes with a counter onto Iron Apprentice and is trying to decide how to go about attacks here. They do decide to go with Ascendant Packleader and Iron Apprentice both getting into combat, so we just go with Ulvenwald Oddity. Briefly consider attacking, but nah, it's not worth it. We'd have to trade a 4/4 trample for one of their 3/3s, because they would just tag team with 3/3s. Would have gotten a counter onto the Hopeful Initiate, but just not worth it. Opponent gets down Kura, the Boundless Sky, gets counters onto the Iron Apprentice, and swings in. Of course, the Ascendant Packleader got a counter when the Kura was cast. We do go ahead and just eat the Iron Apprentice. Counters going somewhere. We're, of course, hoping they go over there on Kura, because we're planning on Wandering Emperoring that thing. Briefly consider doing some Elspeth stuff for just a second here, and just say, you know what, no. Wedding Festivity is going to flip over here. We get another creature. Of course, those 1/1s now are 2/2s. Our blocks just look a lot better in general, should they decide to swing out. And we have an Answer the Kura, and we kind of expect them to walk into Wandering Emperor here, because admittedly, I'm sure they're going to be just kind of hoping we don't have it, sort of thing. But, they also can't really afford to play around it, because none of their other attacks look good either, and they know if we don't have it yet and we are decking it, we'll have it eventually, and it's always going to do the same thing. So, opponent briefly considers doing some other things, elects not to. Does decide to kind of get a little frisky for a second, and then thinks better of it. Just sends in Kura. We, of course, do punish them with Wandering Emperor. Our opponent is probably silently upset with themselves just a little bit. We then decide to deploy Fight Rigging. See what goes under it. Just elect for another Wedding Festivities, going even wider, kind of nice. We do put the counter on Ulvenwald Oddity. We put another counter on Ulvenwald Oddity, giving us the second Wedding Festivities. Of course, now counters going on Gala Greeters, and our opponent's position that was firmly ahead, I think, a turn or two ago, is now, I would say, firmly behind. Remember, there is no card under Fight Rigging there, so they can't even, get some advantage there. They choose to swing out here in what is very obviously a desperation attack, hoping we, fumble blocks. We don't. And they essentially give up their entire board, and we slam an Elspeth Resplendent, and they scoop. So GG, opponent GG. Alright, folks, here we are up against Guilherme Lodi. Good luck, Guilherme. A little bit of an awkward hand just because it has 2 mana in it, but we do have the Gala Greeters, so hopefully that will help us straighten things out here. Opponent goes with Zeus's Many Journeys on 2. They do have the land drop, so they propel themselves quite a bit ahead, and we did not draw a land, so not looking good in that respect, but it's okay. The Gala Greeters is a strong play. We, of course, would like to be able to capitalize on that somewhat. We decide to go with Fight Rigging instead, rewarded with a Wedding Announcement. Again, folks, very, very strong card. The Fight Rigging, putting a counter over there on the Ascendant Packleader, doesn't really compete with the Cemetery Prowler size just yet. And, of course, Vigilance, folks, it's a heck of an ability. Guilherme does kind of wait, debate a little bit, misses a land drop, and goes with Shigeki, probably because they're missing a land drop there. And we just go with a second Gala Greeters, trying to go both wide and hopefully take advantage of the fact that we can make some treasures with the Gala Greeters, as well as help them go tall and put counters on the Gala Greeters as well. Guilherme does make the land drop this time, gets in with a 4/3 and a 3/3. We have a bit of a difficult decision here, but we do elect to take the 6. Feeling not great about it, but it is what it is. And drop to 11. Our opponent uses Shigeki. Does reveal some really strong cards over there. Ulvenwald Oddity of their own, some things like that. But then just recast the Shigeki, clearly trying to get up a little higher on mana. We slam an Ulvenwald Oddity, grow both of our Gala Greeters, and suddenly we had very few power on the board last turn. This turn, We have a lot more power on the board, indeed. Now all of their 3/3s not looking so good. And we were thinking, well, we could attack there, but we'd still trade like a 5/5 or a 5/4 with one of their 3/3s. That just feels really bad. It would be nice to get out of the way, but we thought, well, maybe next turn we'll slam with another Ulvenwald Oddity, and then everything will be better. Well, of course, they naturally match with some 4/5s on their side of the board. Very strong. You know, we briefly debate using the fight rigging to put another counter on the Ascendant Packleader just to get the wedding announcement out. I'm still not certain it was the correct thing to do this way, but this just gives us so much better blocks. The 4/5s just match up very, very poorly against 5/5s, right? Our creature dies, their creature doesn't. They go with another Cemetery Prowler, which again, very strong in the abstract, but doesn't really answer the board. Now, they have a little bit of an opportunity here with the prize fight. They take care of one of our Gala Greeters, and their attacks temporarily look kind of okay, but not really okay, right? So naturally, we just jam another Ulvenwald Oddity, which is, of course, why we decided not to put the counter over there anyway. We're just waiting one turn. Go with a Hopeful Initiate as well. The Gala Greeter is going to create another treasure token. Fight rigging going to put a counter on Ulvenwald Oddity, but we have a 7-power creature anyway, because the Ascendant Packleader has grown on its own. Gala Greeter is just getting us relatively infinite value over there. A wedding announcement ready to go ahead and flip over. Our opponent goes with the 3rd Cemetery Prowler, which again, very strong card, just not matching up very well over here. Ulvenwald Oddity does show up. Our opponent is very wide. But just not, none of their creatures match up well against ours. I think this is a situation where our opponent didn't bother doing the math and just thought, if they got us, they got us. We're going to swing out. We've got to get some damage in. The problem is, just none of their cards match up well against ours. So, all of these are just, we eat you blocks and GG. GG, Guillermo. Alright, folks, here we are up against Jorge Manzanique Castet. And we go with an Ascendant Packleader and pass turn back over to them. They just go with a basic into a basic. We go with Park Heights Pegasus on 2, trying to see if we can resolve it. In fact, does. Crash in for 2, being trying to fulfill our role as the beatdown here. Our opponent goes with Dreamroot Cascade and passes. A little jealous. Their lands are better than ours. Of course, the enemy colors. So we are going to crash in with our 4 damage, see if they interact. They elect not to, drop all the way down to 14. Park Heights Pegasus not going to do what we ask it to do, but that's okay. We slam a wedding announcement hoping to make it do the thing in the future. Our opponent has a Spell Pierce, says no, 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 none of that foolishness, and passes a turn. And then takes the turn back. On their turn, they go with Tameo Completed Sage, ticking up on our Park Heights Pegasus. Annoying, to be sure. We briefly consider the Kodama the West Tree, go with Fight Rigging instead, just to grow our creatures rather than going a little wider. Still not sure if that's the right play or not. Is what it is. It is what I chose to do at the time. Tameo Completed Sage, debating which creature to frost down. They go with the Ascendant Packleader and get Invoke the Ancients. Definitely a strong magic card, folks. We try and decide how to go about this. Briefly consider the Ulvenwald Oddity, just because, you know, we do get a counter. It matches up very well against them. But then we decide there's no way they can resist this kind of attack, right? This is a huge tempo play. Their creature's matching up very well against ours currently. So we know they're going to attack. We also know that just casting the Wandering Emperor is going to put counter on the Ascendant Packleader. And if they attack with both, which we were hoping they would, and they in fact did, we get to get rid of one of the 4/5s. Now, as it turns out, inconveniently enough, they kept their vigilance and stuff, but then boom, this is just a huge blowout here. We try to debate where to put the counter, but it doesn't matter. Jorge has had enough. GG, Jorge. GG. All right, we are back. And yeah, we had a blast. Folks, this video a little bit short and sweet here because I had to work really hard to get it up in a timely manner. Mame as well. Big thank you to our editor, Mame. But just a matter of trying to get interesting games. They were quick, but admittedly, you know, there's only so much we can do about that. In the event, oftentimes people do end up scooping a little bit early because of just you get a little bit behind. There's nothing stopping you from just going and getting back in the queue, and you know, it's kind of a reasonable strategy to take advantage of. I would say that the deck did very, very well. I played just a couple of games before we started recording and just blew our opponents out, really. Just consistently destroyed in this event. Which is why I decided, you know, maybe we should make a video here. I was just trying to get my rewards, you know. And so we decided to do the thing. As far as changes you might make, Parkite's Pegasus didn't really do what we wanted it to do. But honestly, it was still really good. I think, if anything, the Gala Greeters was just a little slower than we wanted. So you might even consider going with, like, a couple more Parkite's Pegasus over the Gala Greeters. It's also relevant that we really didn't see any graveyard-style stuff at all, so maybe the Lion Sash isn't really that necessary. And there are enough 1/1 counters that you don't really need it to be modifying creatures so much, which we thought we might. So maybe you just leave the Gala Greeters and cut the Lion Sash. That would be fine as well. You also might consider another Elspeth Resplendent. The card is bonkers in this format. But on the whole, I don't think there was anything to complain too much about. It was a blast, and the deck was really good. So, you know, what do you do, right? That said, you know, let me know down in the comments below if this is the sort of thing that interests you folks at all. You know, we're trying to do different things to get YouTube to give us their stamp of approval and maybe let the algorithm get a hold of some things, stuff like that. But, you know, I just appreciate everybody who does watch the videos, and it's very kind of you to offer your feedback as well. So thank you all, and I will catch you all next time.